Tell you what, man. We got to fix this studio. It's like,
I think we just go to your house and do it all from there.
yeah, it's like trying to move stuff around here. Sounds like my bones. No deal yet. There'll be a deal at some point in time. Here's the thing. It won't last. There's no reason for it to last. It's done. And I look at the micro and the macro. The micro is getting something done immediately, get the hostages back. Long term, though, besides giving people opportunity for hope, man, because you got no hope, guess what? Like being a desperate man with nothing to lose. There's nothing to lose. One of the things, though, that people forget, in fact, I don't think many people talk about it, is, when you hear Hamas, you think terrorism. They're a business. Their business is terrorism, but they're just a business. As horrible as it is, that's what they are. They sell BS to countries like Iran and every other thing that they can do when it comes to all of these other groups. They sell it. And they buy it. And then they export it. And that's what they do. That's who they are. And their business would be eliminated if this deal went through. They don't want to be eliminated. They don't. Up until, right after January, right after October 7th, man, business, for lack of a better term, was booming. Things were good. Then they got a bunch of people killed. They started raising money. Remember, they're all billionaires. Go look at the amount of money that they had.
There's a reason they didn't live in Gaza.
There's a reason they all lived in Qatar. Because it's a business. And if you want to get rid of them, you better figure out how to destroy their business. You're not changing their ideology. Because they don't care about ideology. Do you really think that these guys who live in $2,000 a night hotels in Qatar, do you really think they care about any of that crap? No, they don't care. They're not buying into it. It's like Osama bin Laden. When they raided his house, what did they find? Viagra pills, porn. What? I don't think Muhammad would be happy with that. No, probably not. Neither would Jesus or anybody else. The reality is, though, this becomes their business, and they don't want it to go anywhere. So you can talk about phase 1, phase 2, phase 5, phase what. It means nothing. The people that they're, quote unquote, hiring to do these jobs, they're employees who get ramped up and sold a cause. You're fighting for the good of all, blah, 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 blah. Because they're stuck in the middle of it. But Hamas is an absolute business. They're a terrorist organization that is evil and horrible, but they run it like they're a cartel. They run it like they're the mob. To them, it's business. Blowing something up is business. Having some of our people killed, whoa, that's big business. They work with the UN. They work with all of these people. Oh, wink, wink. No, they don't. Yes, they do. We all know what they do. Because that's what they are. And long term, what do you have to do? You have to find out what everybody else's business objectives are, and you have to strangle them so their money dries up. If there's no money, they're not sticking around. They're not blowing themselves up. If you're really sold for the cause, you're out there in the front line. None of these guys are. None of them are. And they're going to do it in phases.
Negotiations for the rest of the deal will also begin during phase 1, which, if successful, could mean the end of a long and devastating war beginning 15 months ago when Hamas invaded southern Israel and massacred 1,200 Israelis and others and took more than 250 hostages into the Gaza Strip.
Again, business. Horrible. They weren't leading the charge, right? The guys in the great hotels, with hundreds of bodyguards and people around. They weren't out there going, oh, let me lead the charge. They weren't doing any of that. No, it's business, and you have to figure out how you do it. You start choking the money off, everything you can do from Iran. That's why the struggle has been so real. Because business isn't booming. Things aren't good. Things are the exact opposite of that. Since they've been, quote unquote, served, if you will, in Iran, they don't. They're stretched thin. They don't have money for Hezbollah. They're struggling with the Houthis. They don't have the stuff because business for them is drying up. So Hamas is desperate for something where they can, we were just listening to one of the fabric companies, or was it Joann's, or somebody's filed for bankruptcy. Essentially, that's what they're trying to do. How can we buy time to go forward? And yeah, they'll reach a deal, right? They'll get it voted on and the whole 9 yards. But how long does it last? It lasts as long as it needs to until they rework the plan down the road in their own minds. And that's going to be, we got money again. We can go in and do stuff. They're not interested in anything other than their bottom line. And it's funny, I'm watching everybody fight over who should get credit. Well, let me tell you, Biden threw this out there in May, right? So he throws this thing out there in May. It doesn't work. And it's simple. Because Biden wasn't interested in stopping Bibi Netanyahu. Trump is. Trump told him, don't. Kill them all or stop it. That's it. Those are your things. Because we're not giving you more weapons. That's it. Period. Case closed. So they've got to come to some sort of agreement. Now, it's got to be one that everybody agrees on. But somebody needed to talk in such a way to get this done. Which is good. It wasn't going to get over the line otherwise. It wasn't that Trump was going to go, all right, let's go in there and just destroy all Hamas. It wasn't. But Hamas needs to be destroyed. And you have to do it in a way that's much different than before. Because what's been done before, if we remembered, has never worked. So now you've got to give the people there the opportunity for them to have business. For them to have all of the things, the trappings. Said it yesterday, man. I would love to go blow stuff up with you, but I can't today because my wife, I got to pick the kids up from school. I got a big report due at work, blah, 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 blah. That's life. They don't have life. Because the business leaders have shown them, this is the only way you're going to get out of this. You got to change it because what we've done, what everybody's done in the past has not worked. And it's not going to work unless we figure it out. What's up, everybody? Hope all is well with you. A lot of stuff to get to today. We lost a legend, guys. Bob Uecker died. 90 years old. God, I love Bob Uecker. He was awesome. Horrible baseball player. Funny. I mean, a guy who if you guys don't, many of you listening, you probably know baseball, right? Talk radio. It's into a little bit, not a young person's genre. So baseball fits that because baseball's not really a young person's game anymore. Kids don't pay attention to it like they used to. But a lot of kids that watch, my son loves Bob Uecker. Didn't even know he played baseball. Thought he was an actor.
Post-game show is brought to you by... Christ, I can't find it. The hell with it.
That's the most perfect read ever.
Oh, God.
That's like some of my traffic reports.
That is so...
As long as it ain't on 24, who cares?
That's exactly it. Here's some more from Uecker.
Just a bit outside. He tried the corner and missed.
Ball 4, ball 8, ball 12. He is just brilliant. And died today at 90, which is, that's a good life.
Good run.
I hope he had
complain.
good quality of life at the end, man.
You know what's interesting, too? Like I said, my kids know him as an actor because they think Major League is great, but he had a sitcom. Remember that?
I don't remember
No.
that.
Yes, he had a
What
sitcom.
was it?
God, what was his sitcom called? Somebody's going to text it to us. If only we had a machine and a crew that could look that up for me. Oh, God, I'll do it myself. Thanks, boys. They both look at me like they do not have anything whatsoever.
I completely am clueless as to this.
Really? You didn't know? Okay, here's acting. He was on
Bob Uecker.
Mr. Belvedere. He was on a bit.
Really?
Yeah.
Sitcom.
George Owens from 85 to 90 with Mr. Belvedere.
Yeah, that's all I'm seeing.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Mr. Belvedere.
I mean, but, he was, it was awesome. But that's what he became, super famous for, was basically being a horrible baseball player. Because he was not very good.
Turned it into a career.
He did.
If you can turn it in, he turned a laughing stock of a career into a career. Very few people can do that. There's a soccer player, not really a laughing stock, a soccer player, Vinnie Jones, who's an English actor. He's very tough. I think he played Juggernaut in one of the last movies, or maybe
It was X-Men Last Stand.
Yeah.
The third one.
So, same thing. Like, my kids had no idea that he played soccer with the Premier League and the whole 9 yards, because now everybody just sees him as an actor. Some people do that. Bob Uecker, though, some people, though, like OJ was super famous because he was really good. Then he killed people, allegedly. What's he going to do, sue us? I'm the juice, baby. You cut people's heads off.
Hey, you know what? He'll come up out of that grave and come in here with a gun and demand his stuff back.
It's a possibility. It is, OJ. But Ukes died today, age 90. God bless you, Uecker. You made me laugh. He used to host a sports show, too. But he broadcast. He did so many things. That's like one of those things where you look back and you're like, man, what a life. Right? You played Major League Baseball. Again, not great, but you got there. Like, you were better than 999% of the people out there. But you also got to do so many other cool things, from acting to everything else. You were a great broadcaster. We forget about that as well. So, Ukes died at 90 today.
He was a much better broadcaster than he was ever a player.
God,
by a long shot.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's not hard. I mean, I might have been a better player than him.
No, but he was a good broadcaster.
No, he was. Like a baseball broadcaster.
He was funny, but he also knew exactly where to put the color commentary in. He was always up on his stats. He was very interested in the talking points of the game.
Yeah. And baseball's one of those games, I was spoiled. I grew up in Los Angeles. We had the greatest of all time, Vin Scully. Nobody even comes close to what Vin has done. But being a baseball broadcaster, because the game is slow, you have to be a storyteller.
Yep.
You have to be able to weave things in and out about, this guy was born in blah, 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 blah. He likes to fish. And, you have to be able to do those things. And Uecker was hilarious. See, Vin was great, but he wasn't as funny as Uecker. Uecker just kind of like Tony Romo, right? Like, it's just natural for him. So, Ukes, God bless you, brother. I don't drink, but I'll hold up my energy drink for you. Rest in peace, good friend. Coming up, a lot of stuff to get to today. I want to talk about that cancer thing because I think it's very interesting about the new study out. And women, you guys are passing us for something. And by the way, as they talk about this study, one thing we always talk about here is how much of it is preventable, too, which shouldn't be a shock to any of you guys. It is the Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7. Raycon, best earbuds around. Love my Raycon. I wear them every single day. Tons of colors to choose from, which is awesome, right? So you want I want red. They've got all those things. But let's talk about the feel. Feel is incredible. They're built to last. Weather and sweat resistant, multi-connectivity. They're just incredible. And the 8 hours of talk time, 32 hours of battery life is awesome. If you really are like me, you like to listen to podcasts and you're doing a lot, these are the things, right? This is what I love about these things is how fast you can charge them. They've got active noise cancellation. They're just the best sound quality at a price that won't break the bank. So if you're looking for great sound, and you should, and you're like, man, I'd love to listen to you more on the podcast, but I don't know. Well, you know what? Now you can take me with you everywhere. Lucky you. Go to buyraycon.com/Chad. I'm going to save you 15% site-wide. That's buyraycon.com/Chad. 30-day happiness guarantee as well. Buyraycon.com/Chad.
No deal yet in Gaza, and President-elect Trump has just announced special ambassadors to Hollywood. I'll tell you about it at 12:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Oh, I want to find out who the special ambassador to Hollywood is.
One of them is Rocky.
What? Sylvester Stallone?
Yeah.
Good for him.
Trump, man, he
Just
cracks me up.
Hollywood gets its own ambassadors.
Yeah.
That's such a Trump thing right there. 'Cause
Yeah.
You know why? Because he loves showbiz.
Yep.
I mean,
He's pretty good at it.
Yeah, he's pretty damn good at it. Somebody's mad at me because they said I cursed on the air. I'm like,
Uh-oh.
I didn't.
I don't think I didn't hear that.
And they're like, use the Lord's name in vain. I said, no, that was Bob Uecker.
Yes.
He's dead. And you know what? The Lord finds him funny, so I think he's okay. Somebody else reminded me that Bob Uecker is actually a Hall of Fame broadcaster, which I forgot about. Yeah, so he went to the Hall of Fame as a broadcaster on top of everything else. So, I mean, again, what a life. We should all be so lucky, for goodness gracious sake. There are hearings going on. How exciting is that? It's not exciting. But what about this guy and that? Who cares? Everybody's going to get through. You're not in this position unless you know you're going to get through.
It's political theater.
That's all it is. It has nothing to do with anything other than that. The Adam Schiffs of the world, Dip Schiff we call him, he is, yesterday he and Pam Bondi, who cares? Dude, get over it. You're not stopping her. You're already a senator. You've won. I would be like, do I have to be here? And I wish people would just respond in a real way. Look, if you want to ask me a real question, knock yourself out. If you want to pontificate and yell at me for 6.5 of your 7 minutes, you guys tell me this now because I got better places to be. And you move on. I wish somebody would just get up and go, I don't get time for this. I don't. I have time for you. This is because nobody's serious anymore. And part of that's on us because somewhere along the line, we're like, you know what we don't want anymore? Information. You know what we do want? Entertainment. That's good. That's good. I mean, let's do that. I mean, if you've never seen the movie Idiocracy, have you seen the movie Idiocracy, Ken?
I have not seen that.
So it's a Mike Judge movie who did Beavis and Butthead.
Oh.
So it's about Luke Wilson and Maya Rudolph.
Okay.
In today's world, they go and she's running from her pimp. And he's doing an experiment, and they get into like one of these chambers where you sleep.
Yeah.
And they're going to wake him up in a year. There's an earthquake, and he wakes up in like 500 years.
Oh.
All the smart people stop reproducing. So all that's out there are stupid people. So like the president is Hector Dwayne Elizondo Camacho Mountain Dew. Right? And he's a former world champion wrestler and porn star. He carries around like a rifle with him everywhere he goes. It is the greatest, worst movie of all time as far as like it's a satire.
I love those films.
But as you're watching it, you're starting to realize, oh my God, this is happening now. This is happening now. This is what we're like. We want infotainment. Their big show in the show, I don't want to give too much away, but the movie's been out for like 20 years. One of the shows that people watch is Ouch My Balls, where a guy just walks up and kicks somebody and everybody laughs at it. And that's
dude, this is prophetic.
It's exactly what it is. But that's what we're doing. We're demanding our people entertain us. No. I just don't want you to talk about politics. I want you to entertain me. Are you not entertained? That's what it is. It's sad. That's why I don't watch any of these things. Anything that's really going to happen happens behind closed doors.
Look there, it's got one of the lost Wilson brothers. It has Andrew Wilson in it.
Yes.
Luke Owen and Andrew.
Yeah, it is. It's hilarious though.
Wow, I can't believe I haven't seen this.
And if you've never seen the movie, people, and I'm sure some of you have, because I see everybody chiming in. Idiocracy rocks. Yeah. Dwayne Elizondo, Hector Camacho, Mountain Dew, whatever his name is. And the other thing,
Terry Crews plays the president.
Yeah, Brondo. They don't have water. Everything is Brondo. Brondo is a drink that's like an energy drink, and so they wonder there's no plants, nothing can survive because they only ever give the plants Brondo. It's just fascinating though because you're like, oh, that could never happen, and then you start realizing, oh no, that can happen. That can.
I was getting ready to say, man, this was 2006.
Yeah,
and this is happening today. We have videos of people just walking up to people on the street and clocking them for no reason.
One of the things, like Costco is one of the things, and this person just texted, he goes, when you go to Costco, it just says, welcome to Costco, I love you. And it's just, the whole movie is absurd. And then you're like, not that absurd, actually. Not absurd. If you guys want to know what it's called, Idiocracy.
Idiocracy.
You guys should go check it out. A ton of you are going, what's that movie? It's Idiocracy. You will just, it is fascinating and scary at the same time. It's prophetic. It's the best way to describe it because that's what we want now. That's what we deem as, hey, you know what? Entertain me. I don't care about what information you are. I don't care what you're the secretary or whatever. Just entertain me.
Oh, wow. Speaking of entertainment, get this.
Yeah.
TMZ just posted David Lynch, Blue Velvet director, dead at 78.
Ooh.
I freaking love David Lynch.
Yeah, it was a great movie. He was great. I mean,
weird, but
they come in
great.
threes.
They do, man.
We got Uecker,
Here
we got
are,
Lynch.
Uecker, David Lynch. Who's next?
Who's next? Bob Barker? Is he gone? I was.
Wow.
Yeah, you got to kind of go there. It sounds horrible, but it's true. Ava Goda's gone, so now that's where we got to go.
Exactly. Wow.
Idiocracy, kids. If you want to see a movie that is bringing a snapshot of what may be coming if we don't get our act together and actually demand that people do jobs and not just entertain us, this is what it's going to be, and it's unfortunate but true. We're going to talk a little cancer coming up here in a little bit about what's going on with cancer research. TikTok going away. People are freaking out. Is there an alternative? And why people freak out, the reality is if you think it's only 15-year-olds are on TikTok, you are wrong. We'll talk about that as well. It is the Chad Benson Show at Super Talk 99.7.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. The ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas is set to take effect on Sunday. But today, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office says Hamas is trying to renege on parts of the deal. Hamas says it's committed to the agreement, but Israel is not voting on it. The American Cancer Society has just released its annual report. Among its findings, there were higher rates among women and younger adults for certain types of cancer. Here's American Cancer Society Chief Scientific Officer Dr. William Dayhut.
We're seeing a shift from cancer over the age of 65, which is still the greatest risk factor, to between ages 50 and 64, and really an increase in incidence rate of people under the age of 50.
People attending the NCAA convention at Gaylord Opryland in Nashville yesterday met with protesters outside, female athletes who want the NCAA to reverse its practice of allowing biological men to compete in women's sports.
Played volleyball. Men's nets were over 7 inches higher than female nets. That shows, reflected in our sports, that we are biologically different, and to protect the integrity of sports, the safety, and the fairness of sports, we must keep them separated based on biology, not feelings.
That's athlete Macy Petty speaking to News Channel 5. Others say scholarships and roster spots are taken from women for biological men. It's not clear if the NCAA has plans to change the qualifications for play. President-elect Trump just announced special ambassadors to Hollywood. He posts on Truth Social. It is my honor to announce John Voight, Mel Gibson, and Sylvester Stallone to be special ambassadors to a great but very troubled place, Hollywood, California. He says they will serve as special envoys to me for the purpose of bringing Hollywood, which has lost much business over the last 4 years, to foreign countries, back bigger, better, and stronger than ever before! Exclamation point.
Bigger than ever before, Ken.
And
biggest ever. So big, it'll be Hollywood, too.
And that's in all caps. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Cancer. Just about everybody in America in some way, shape, or form has been touched by cancer. It is vile. It is nasty. And things change. I mean, the greatness of living in the time that we do is you realize how blessed we are, right? You know, everybody talks about, we're going through all this stuff. Our country's fine. We're not going anywhere. Nothing's going to happen. We're blowing up. We're not disappearing. We live in the greatest time in human history.
I was told that that the world was coming apart and that Trump was going to turn us into a dictatorship. So
yeah, well, that's
that's not happening?
Just like which is our favorite thing in the world, right? Every single election is what? This is the most important election of our lifetime.
Most important one ever.
I just wish somebody go, you know what? This one's okay. He's okay. I'm okay. Well, yeah, either way, we're going to be fine. You never have anybody like that. So, but living in the times that we do, we live longer, so we're more susceptible to things. You know, one of the things, like people go, well, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, we didn't have, Alzheimer's or anything. Well, we didn't live as long as we did. If you go back and look, the turn of the 1800s, 1900s, people lived until their 50s. Then, you got up and then we were into our 60s. Now we're into our 70s comfortably. My God, our president is going to be 80, and he's looking fine.
Our country has actually gotten to a point where you live so long that you're like, I'm ready for this to be over.
Yeah. I mean, that's it's like somebody, that's why they got the suicide pods. No, but that's where we're at. So cancer, if you live long enough, there's a chance you may get something. But with the advancement in all of the stuff that we have, including, by the way, AI, which is doing breakthroughs in the medical world that I think are going to speed things up like you could never believe. But there's still issues. There's no doubt. There's tons of issues out there with cancer.
In its annual report, the American Cancer Society says for the first time, cancer diagnoses in women ages 50 to 64 have surpassed men. There's a persistent trend of diagnosis increasing for certain cancers in younger adults, and they don't know why. The disparities of Native American and black patients more likely to die of common cancers than white patients also continue.
Probably, and it used to be men too, by the way, because you know what? Few things about men. Men, I don't know if you're aware of this, little pig-headed, right? I'll be fine. We'll walk it off. It's okay. That was an issue. Plus, men put themselves in worse positions when it comes to work and stuff. And our diets, as somebody just said, hey, what about, processed foods, which we'll get to. But for the first time, man, things are changing when it comes to men and women and cancer.
For the first time, if you're a woman under the age of 65, you're more likely to have a cancer diagnosis than a man. One, we're seeing some increased risk of cancer and breast cancer and thyroid cancer. But what's really sort of striking is for the first time under the age of 65, lung cancer is now more likely to develop lung cancer in women than in men.
Which is woo.
And that's with smoking continuing to decline.
Yeah, which they said still is, you cut out smoking or you never start, 50% of what may happen to you is eliminated just because of that. Just because that's how bad smoking is. The fact that we even allow it is insane.
I don't think we need to scare women, though. Men will still be dying first because we want to, but you definitely...
And because we do dumb stuff, like we talked about the other day. We'll get into one of those plastic balls and have our buddy hit the car and shoot us across the street 100 yards because we're dumb, right?
We love it.
We do, right? So things are better, but there's still stuff like pancreatic cancer. They're struggling with that. Doesn't get enough money, and the research is still, it's tough. Last year, a guy I followed on the interwebs, for those of you keeping score, YouTube. His name was Brian Barczyk. He's since passed. He was you know who he is?
Love Brian Barczyk.
So Brian Barczyk is a reptile guy, was an amazing reptile guy. Long hair, punk rock. He was just a great guy. Had an amazing place in, I think it's Detroit, right? Is that where they're at?
No, it was outside of, it was in Ohio.
Was it in Ohio or Michigan? It's one of those places.
I want to say it was in one of the medium-sized cities in Ohio.
So he announces one day that he's got pancreatic cancer. And over the next year, he documented all of that.
You watched him die.
And in fact, the day before he died, he did his last video. And
He
he
did
was, if you knew it, like he was yoked. He was big.
He was in hospice. And
he was short. He's a short guy, but he was really into fitness and long hair. He had to cut it all off. And
it was falling out on him because of chemo.
And he was like, what, like maybe 110 pounds at the end? I mean, he was so thin. It was tough to watch. But that's pancreatic cancer. And that's one of the things.
He went to the doctor because he thought he had an intestinal issue.
Yeah.
And they're looking at him trying to figure out what's causing the pain. They do a scan. It's like, that's what's causing it.
And the survival rate for pancreatic cancer, 5-year survival rate is 8%. It's you saw that with Alex Trebek.
Because you don't get any symptoms with pancreatic cancer until it's just severely advanced.
It's too late. That's exactly it. It's too late. And it's not one of those ones you go and check all the time or any of that. It's not. It's not like the prostate. It's not like some of these other stuff. It's one.
You're not having a mammogram on I had a friend of mine. She has multiple sclerosis.
Yeah.
And so she has MRIs done sometimes because they're checking the plaques on her brain and looking at other parts of her body. And they just accidentally discovered a tumor on her pancreas while they were scanning her.
Was it early?
It was way early. And the only reason that they caught it was because she was having those scans because of her multiple sclerosis. And so they ended up going in, taking out a piece of her pancreas because they caught it early enough, and she's totally alive now.
And that's one of the things they said. If you catch it, like in stage 1, 2, the chance of survival is really good, but you don't catch it usually until stage 4, and then it's too late. And so our mortality rate, though, is getting better.
We see a 34% decrease in cancer mortality since the high water mark of 1991. That's over 4.5 million cancer deaths averted, largely due to decreased smoking, decreased tobacco use, early detection, and also some new drugs. We see much better outcomes in melanoma and some kind of lung cancers.
And with AI, where we're headed with this is awesome because, because I'm blessed that I get to work around a bunch of AI and do a bunch of AI stuff with my uncle, and we get to beta test all this stuff. But the stuff that they're trying out, the things that AI is being able to discover and how fast it works is incredible. And we talked about it a couple weeks ago. That math problem it did, if you guys had no idea, like that is arguably the biggest story in the last maybe all time. And people are like, how is that a big story? It's a math problem. Because in this realm, it could not do the math problem. It had to go into other dimensions to get all of the parts to put it together. And that was amazing. And they think that the way that this thing is going to go is going to be so fast when it comes to the medical side of stuff. And then you've got to start asking yourself the question is like, well, okay, what is our lifespan? That's going to be a big deal. But it's also about unlocking all of these other things because our mortality rate's so much better. But, the other side of it is it's us, man. We smoke, we drink, we party, we inhale stupid stuff. We live a lifestyle that's unhealthy, and many of you are just absolutely chiming in about how crappy our food is. All the stuff in there. We got rid of red dye number 3 yesterday, but think about it. Like all that stuff we eat, like, I mean, my God, I'm drinking something right now, which I love. But the amount of things on here.
What are the first 3 ingredients?
Carbonated water, citric acid, I-canteen something, or I can't even pronounce half these.
So we're into the third most prevalent ingredient, and you can't pronounce it already.
It's like chloride, nonylidine, phosphate, methyl. Like it's nuts. It's crazy. It's like, oh yeah, this is probably also in Roundup. Although I will say this one is way better because my wife does she looks through all these things because she gets really into that. A lot of that natural stuff, and she goes, this is great. But what does it say on it? It says 18 years or older. It's probably not good for, the stuff we eat. I drink way too much, not so much iced tea, but it's those little pink packets.
The Sweet and Low?
Yeah. I stole some from here yesterday.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
You know what's funny? I stole some from here yesterday. Sorry, Kim. And I got home, and I looked, and they were Dunkin' Donuts. So somebody else stole them from Dunkin' and brought them here.
I'm out.
Oh, my Lord. Hey, Ken, do we know why David Lynch died? Was it a heart attack? Was he sick?
The official cause hasn't been announced, but if you'll remember, he announced last year that he had emphysema.
Yeah.
After years of smoking, and to the point where he couldn't even go outside.
Yeah. Again, all preventable.
Yeah.
You know, when you see somebody who has, like, you know, cystic fibrosis or somebody, that stuff that happens. But so much of this stuff they talk about is so preventable.
Yeah.
If we ate a better diet, if we exercised more, if we didn't smoke, we didn't abuse drugs, we didn't abuse drink, you're going to eliminate a ton of these things. But most people, it's a tough thing to do.
And at the same time, you're still going to die anyway. So
Are you?
It's a balancing. But honestly, it's a balancing act through your entire life about how much fun you want to have versus how much abuse you want to heap on yourself. Because at the end of the day, we're as Matt would say, we all got it coming. So you better figure out how you're going to enjoy your life.
Who's that tech guy that spends like $2 million a year trying to keep himself alive?
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, that guy. He's like, okay, he does like, you know, the feels like for the weather. He does that for his body. So he has my heart's of a 22-year-old, my lungs of a 9-year-old. Like it's one of those things that, you know, what's the real age of your body?
My blood is from. Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
Yeah, my blood is that of a virgin that we have. Oh, my Lord. So cancer update right there, kids. We want to keep you guys alive because we care about you. Plenty of stuff to come. Maybe we'll check in and see what's going on in Israel. My bet is not a lot right now. And if it is, we'd be surprised that it lasts past our show today because, well, they don't like each other is what I'm trying to say. It is the Chad Benson Show at Super Talk 99.7. Social post on X. I don't know if he's allowed to do that. Birch Gold, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends of all age. I want you to think about why you'd want gold. Well, I don't know why. Inflationary? Absolutely. Protection if the bubble goes, 100%, especially when it comes to your retirement. But on top of that, it's just good to have. Something tangible, something real. Birch Gold wants to send you out something. So they've got a new ultimate guide to gold in the Trump era. It's done. The forward's done by Donald Trump Jr. They're going to send you out an investment kit. And all you have to do is text the word Benson to 989898. It's that simple. We're in big time debt crisis mode here in America. Inflation is still what it is, and then some. Let's not forget the dollar is weakened. Gold is a great place to be. You can move your IRA over there, your 401k over there, no penalty. It's not going to cost you anything. It is just a smart thing to do to have yourself in a situation where you're protecting yourself in the event of what if. Nothing wrong with that. Do this today, no obligation whatsoever. Text Benson to 989898. You're going to get a free information kit, no pressure, none of that stuff. And on top of that, they're going to get you the ultimate guide to gold in the Trump era. Don't wait for lasting peace of mind. Text Benson to 989898 today.
Israel says it's delaying a vote on the Gaza ceasefire. President-elect Trump reportedly considering executive action on TikTok. New cancer findings and a sad day in entertainment with the passing of some iconic talent. All this and more at 1 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All that going on. We got a bunch of rats who are addicted to drugs.
The people who run the Houston Police Department's evidence room have learned a harsh lesson.
Rodents, bugs, fungus, all kinds of things love drugs.
Peter Stout heads the Houston Forensic Science Center. Attorneys in 3,600 criminal cases have been notified that rats have been eating evidence, although Joshua Reese of the Harris County DA's office says.
I really don't think that this is going to compromise any convictions, but it is important for defendants to know about.
Yeah.
No evidence, man.
No evidence, man. You know what? If you were in serious serious issue, and it's in there, train one of those rats. They're smart. Send them on in there.
They are very smart.
Go on in. Next thing you know, they're all addicted to drug. Ask this guy.
I mean, think about it. They're drug-addicted rats. They're tough to deal with.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, that's such a Texas story right there.
Rats on cocaine.
That's a great name for a band.
You know what that actually is?
Ladies and gentlemen, coming to the stage, Rats on Cocaine. Yeah! They're just going in there and just mowing down the food.
Yeah.
That's what they think it is. They just eating all day. Food. Oh, this sounds great. It's not food. It's like, dude, what are you doing? I can't help it, man. I love this. I've been up for 3 weeks. It is, it's just crazy when you think about the fact that, okay, so now you guys know this. What are we doing to fix the problem? They say only one, but they did say one big case is going to have serious issues. You're going to have to go before a judge, and potentially a drug dealer may walk.
Because of no evidence.
Because you got no evidence. But now you have no evidence, but your rats have street values. That is crazy. I don't know if you guys heard this story, but Southwest had some issues.
Imagine heading home to Chicago expecting a routine flight. Then just before takeoff, your pilot gets arrested for allegedly being drunk. Well, passengers on Southwest Flight 3772 went through that today in Georgia. This is David Alsop. He's 52 from New Hampshire. Police say he showed up intoxicated at Savannah Hilton Airport early Wednesday morning. Officers arrested him before the flight to Chicago could leave. Passengers waited for 4 hours while Southwest delayed the flight and scrambled to rebook them. Southwest says Alsop is no longer flying for them, and they apologized to passengers, saying there's nothing more important than their safety. Alsop is now charged with DUI. And his career might be over.
It might be. Well, if he gets himself into a rehab or something. Because you're not going to fire somebody for alcohol abuse, right? Like they really, but I mean, you're taking people up in the air, but then you're thinking, wait, hold on a second. It's a 4-hour delay? How long's the flight? 5 hours. So hold on here. He can get us in the air, right? Because that other thing will be fine. We'll fly itself, right? And by the time we get close, he should wake up.
He'll be sober again and he can put the plane down.
Goodness.
Hey guys, this is going to be great. Who wants to fly the plane with me? You said it earlier, though. Like, we probably don't want to know how many of these things happen.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
true. That's scary. I don't think it happens a lot. But, luckily they have, it's not just one dude flying the plane, right? There's usually you've got a second. And in some cases, the longer haul flights, you may have, a navigator /third. So that's good. But 4-hour delay, we may not get off the ground. This guy, he can get us up, I think. We're fine. There's nothing in front of him. How drunk would you have to be, though? For somebody, you must have been hammered for people to notice.
I've been cut off on a Southwest flight before.
Really?
So maybe they should start cutting off their pilots.
Maybe.
You got
Bell
cut
lives his life.
Yes.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Coming up, some TikTok stuff. They've redefined obesity, and now I know exactly how they're doing it. Because at first, it was a mystery with the BMI. We know what it was, but they've redefined it now, and I'll tell you about that as well. If you're missing the show, we say, shame on you. Grab the podcast. It is the Chad Benson Show, Super Talk.
1 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Heads up, drivers, picking up some crashes out there. We've got the Gore blocked there in Woodbine, 24 westbound at I-440. Then crash blocking the right entrance lane. This is 65 southbound right there at Trinity Lane, just north of downtown. Full forecast in 5 minutes. Breaking news from the Tennessean. They just put out a news alert that says TSU's band director has been placed on leave, and the university has launched an investigation. Gaza ceasefire seems fragile. Israel delaying a vote on it, claiming Hamas is reneging on the deal. That includes hostages to try to extort more from Israel. And with the TikTok ban looming, Fox News is reporting President-elect Trump is reportedly considering executive order to, quote, save TikTok. Meanwhile, there are new details about what may happen to the app. Here's ABC's Elizabeth Schulze.
With this set to go dark, possibly in 3 days, it might be a good time to download some of your data, save videos that you want to keep from the app. You can do that by going into your settings and downloading it from there.
The American Cancer Society has just released its annual report. Among its findings, there were higher rates among women and younger adults for certain types of cancer. Here's American Cancer Society Chief Scientific Officer Dr. William Dayhat.
We see a 34% decrease in cancer mortality since the high water mark of 1991. That's over 4.5 million cancer deaths averted, largely due to decreased smoking, decreased tobacco use, early detection, and also some new drugs. We see much better outcomes in melanoma and some kind of lung cancer.
As we mentioned before, it's a sad day in entertainment. Legendary director of Twin Peaks and Blue Velvet has died. David Lynch's family posts to Facebook, "It is with deep regret that we, his family, announce the passing of the man and the artist, David Lynch. We would appreciate some privacy at this time. There's a big hole in the world now that he's no longer with us, but as he would say, keep your eye on the donut and not on the hole." Lynch announced just last year that he was diagnosed with emphysema after years of smoking and likely wouldn't be able to direct anymore and even leave his house. Lynch was 78 years old. Elsewhere,
Just a bit outside. He tried the corner and missed.
that's comedian and actor Bob Uecker, who was also a longtime Milwaukee Brewers announcer. He has died at the age of 90. Uecker played in the major leagues for 6 seasons, starting in 1962. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Steal no deal. I don't know what kind of deal you're going to get when it comes to Israel and Gaza and the Palestinians, because it's not with the Palestinians. It's not. It's not with the Palestinians. It is with Hamas, a terrorist organization that is political and it's a business. You're not getting it with the average Palestinian.
And nothing in this agreement changes their charter, which calls for the destruction of Israel.
Yeah. It's hard. You know, I always joke, but, Matt and I were joking about this yesterday. When you start out your email, your text with blank you, we don't have a conversation that's going to be able to happen because you're angry.
I thought I apologized to you for that.
I'm okay with that, though, because we talk it out. But it's a business. And the more that people understand that, see, I think for the last umpteen years, everybody's treated this completely wrong. They're trying to come at it. This is a land dispute. This is a da-da-da. It's a business. The business is terrorism. That's it. They're a subsidiary of Iran Incorporated.
And when you look at what's the word I want to use? When you look at the benefits they get from this, even after it's been condemned, they are getting millions upon millions of dollars in support from all over the country. They end up paying almost no price for what they did wrong. They benefit from it.
They do. Hey, killing an IDF soldier, good for you, right? Having several kids killed, oh, that's big money. Because it wasn't their kids, by the way, because their kids go to school in Europe. Their kids go to school in Riyadh. Their kids go to school elsewhere. The leaders.
Away from the fighting.
That's exactly it. So what do? You got to change the mindset. Because, man, right now, the mindset is we're going to come to some sort of agreement, and then they're going to be okay with it, and then it's going to last an hour, and then all of a sudden, boom, the minute they have a chance to build up their coffers again. Because right now, they're really open to it because they have no support. Their biggest supporter is Iran. Iran has been stretched thin. They got their butts kicked. They were kind of shown the door. The Houthis, and they're not doing anything, right? Because they also depend on Iran. And then you've got Hezbollah, who was really crushed. So at this moment in time, you don't have that. What you need, which is funding. And without funding, you're not going to be able to spread the propaganda, but also entice. And the reason these people are easily enticed, simple. They don't have hope. They got nothing. They don't have anything. And they blame the Jews for it, and America and the West. Egypt doesn't want them there. That wall Egypt built, they don't want anywhere near. It's medieval, that wall. Because they recognize what happens. Jordan let him come in the 60s. Everybody go look and see what happened there. Let's just say they tried to overthrow the king. It was an excuse for a long time for people in the Middle East to hate the Jews. But Saudi Arabia looks over and goes, I want to do business, right? Jordan's like, we're fine. We just want to do business. We just want peace. So Hamas is a business organization, so you attack it like that. You make sure you have a stranglehold on the money that Iran was giving them. You start to close that up and then figure out how you rebuild it. And to do a rebuild, man, you're going to have to go, you got to get everybody involved. But the charter says elimination of Israel and the Jews. Phase 1 is we're going to get back this. Phase 2 is we're going to do a little bit of this, that, and the other, and IDF soldiers, and you're going to get. Phase 3 is Hamas is no more. Do you think Hamas is going to sign on to something that eliminates their position of power? Because that's all it is. It's not ideology. It's a business. Whether it's ISIS or Al-Qaeda or any, they play the game of we're terrorists. And yes, there are terrorists, but people running it, they're doing it for ulterior motives. They're not doing it for the greater good of Allah or this. They're doing it because it's a business. They like the power grab that they have. And they don't want to let that go. So they have easy pickings when you've got angry, disgruntled people who've lost everything, seem to have no hope, and are virtually stuck in an area where nobody wants them. So there you go. It's kind of like a gang. Let's see here. How many people do you know are living a great life with mom and dad and everything's going well for them and they're growing up in an area and they're gang members? Very few. What do the gangs look for? You need something, right? You don't have family. You don't have this, that, and the other. You don't feel like you have hope. You see guys driving around and they got money and this, that, and the other. So you gravitate towards them and they're easily sucking you in. Come on in. Tell you the world's bad. We're the ones who are going to be your brothers now. We're the one. It's a business and treat it as such. Their business is terror and it's horrible and it's awful and it's disgusting. But if you cut off their money, if you cut off the funding that Iran gives them and Hezbollah, the whole 9 yards, and you take that away, and at the same time, the rest of the Middle East gets involved helping build up infrastructure throughout there, the people that you need to do your bidding, well, that starts to run dry. So to think that somewhere in there is going to be a magic, signature that's going to go on a line that says that anybody's going to take seriously to eliminate Hamas as an organization is ridiculous. It is. Speaking of ridiculous, TikTok, is it going away? This is a big conversation in my house. I'm not going to lie to you. And time is running like out.
A law passed by Congress last year requires TikTok's parent company ByteDance to find a buyer not controlled by a foreign adversary. But with no sale apparently imminent, Reuters reports TikTok is preparing to shut down U.S. operations, saying users attempting to open the app will see a pop-up message directing them to a website with information about the ban.
So that's Sunday. And ByteDance is not laying off anybody, from what I understand. They are keeping everybody here employed, at least for now. The CEO of ByteDance is actually going to the inauguration on Monday. And Trump is going to do everything I think he can to save this.
President-elect Trump says, according to sources familiar with the discussions, he's looking at options, including an executive order that could keep TikTok available. Now, how he can overrule the law isn't exactly clear.
What they're going to try to do is do an executive order, from what I understand, for 90 days to give them the opportunity to go out and to try to find another buyer or do something. I don't know. Everybody talks about Elon Musk. I know Mr. Beast wants to buy it, and he's got several big backers behind him on top of that. If you don't know who Mr. Beast is, come on now. He's the most popular internet personality of all time. So it's going to be interesting because think about this. We don't have anything that's bipartisan. And this was totally bipartisan. Everybody's like, yeah, get rid of it because of China, because of this, because of that, all that stuff. And I totally understand that. But then we allow everything else in here from China. So that's also a weird, who does business like that? Well, we do, because we're a consumption-based society. We like to consume. We want cheap. So this thing has come and it's grabbed everybody's attention, and now it's here. We have 170 million people have downloaded the app in America. That's crazy. That is huge. And as this thing starts to, potentially peter out, people are like, well, what do we do? Where do we go? There are alternatives that are flying up the charts.
We're just going to TikTok's other app.
Tonight, amid fear a TikTok ban could take effect later this week, some Americans flocking to Chinese apps like RedNote.
I'm a TikTok refugee.
and Lemonade.
Hello, Lemonade. This is my first video.
Both apps have similarities to TikTok, and Lemonade shares a parent company, ByteDance. The platform's topping Apple's downloads.
We are doing this to spite our own government.
Some say it's a form of protest.
By going to an app like Rednote, they're saying, no, I am in control of where I give my data.
So Lemonade is owned by ByteDance. Let's just think about this for a second. If we are banning TikTok, what do you think is going to happen with Lemonade? Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's one of the things. The second thing is, from what I understand, Rednote may actually be owned by a portion of the Chinese Communist Party. Once again, what are you thinking? Here's my question. Where the hell is any American groups that have figured out a way to come up with something that is comparable? Just out of curiosity, why is there nothing? And Reels is fun. And, if you go on to, Instagram and you've got several, you got the shorts and stuff. But it is the algorithm, right? It's like that. It's like the 23 herbs and spices or whatever from Kentucky Fried Chicken. There's something about that makes it work. And as we were talking yesterday, because a lot of you are like, I don't like the TikTok and stuff. Here's the reality of TikTok. If you think it's only 15 and 16-year-olds, there's plenty of them. 50, 60-year-olds are on there. And small business is doing great. It's not just the influencers that are on there. And I see why influencers panic. Imagine this. Like, we're just talking about Hamas, how they need to eliminate the business side of it. Think about this for a second. You're 25, right? And you had a regular old job. You put a few things up. Next thing you know, you go viral. All of a sudden, you've got a couple million followers. You're making 20, 30, 40 grand a month. You had no idea your life would change like this. And now you're 2 days away from most of it going away. That's, I'd see why you freak. Who wouldn't?
The thing that I find probably the most disheartening is that they're not panicking over the fact that they're losing any kind of an avenue for free speech. They're panicking over the fact that now I got to go back and rebuild all those followers on a different platform.
Yeah. Well, because it's tough because you're not sure that your people are going to follow you over. So
yeah, they can do nothing and it costs them, and it's no effort.
Yeah, and that's the frustrating thing. And like I said, if you put yourself in a position of somebody who is even in their 40s or 50s, and you sell widgets that it's turned your little business into something big, and that's going to go away. Again, it's not just about funny dances for them and stuff like that. A lot of small business do this. That's a big. Everybody be freaking out about that. Everybody would be. I mean, if you thought about you're going to lose your 20 grand a month or 30 grand a month, you don't think you'd be a little upset about that?
I'd be freaking out.
And that's what they're doing. They're freaking out. So I think Trump's going to do something on Monday. I think that's going to be the first thing he's going to do. He's going to try to extend it. And the other part of it is, too, just because they say, well, the DOJ is not going to do it. So let's say he doesn't do anything. The DOJ, we're going to instruct them not to do anything. Doesn't mean ByteDance is going to go, it's okay. We'll keep running it here. And Apple and Google will allow it on the Play Store because it's also disappearing. So this will be, because people are going to freak out. Like you watch on Sunday, the biggest story is going to be TikTok going away. That's going to be the biggest story this weekend by far. Monday, it'll be obviously the inauguration, which our buddy Brian's going to be out there. I'm excited. We're talking today about how many times we're going to talk to Brian. We're doing like 1 an hour. We're like, dude, if you feel it, get a little squirrely, see what happens, right? You become part of the story. That's what I always tell all good reporters. But TikTok is going to play a huge part in so many news things that people don't realize. That's kind of citizen journalists. But the free speech thing, they can't win that argument because you got other places you can go have free speech on. So we'll see. We shall see, my friends. Talk about the inauguration, the safety stuff, but also the village people. Chris and I were talking about this. the man who is the village person, the only one left, he came out and talked about why he's doing the inauguration and how excited he is. We'll talk a little bit about that and BMI. We're getting rid of the body mass index, and we're bringing in what? We'll talk about that as well. It is the Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7. All right, let's talk about Bulwark Capital. 2025 is here. Trump's getting ready to take over. Still going to be some ups and downs. Are you ready for that with your retirement? You call my buddies over at Bulwark. They're going to give you a second opinion. Call 866-779-RISK today. That's 866-779-RISK. And the second opinion is the risk review. They go through, they look at all the stuff that is going on in your account, because most people have a cookie cutter account, 401k or something. They don't really know what's going on. And so are you over leveraged in certain areas? Are you not really represented in certain areas of the market that maybe you should be? They're going to give you the straight skinny. Doesn't cost you anything but a little bit of time. Call them today, 866-779-RISK. They'll explain to you what they're about. Lower risk, lower cost, lower volatility, as well as giving you the most upside potential. It's called Bulwark Capital. Check them out online at knowyourriskradio.com. That is KNOW, yourriskradio.com. Investment advisory service offered through Trek Financial LLC and SEC Registered Investment Advisor. Investments involve risk and are not a guarantee. Past performance not guarantee future results. Trek 24378. It's cold. It's wet. It's damp. What are you doing with your house? Are you worried about maybe a leak? Basement? United Structural Services. That's what you're going to do. You're going to call 615-488-7855. With a storm come through, some of you may have leaks. And don't put it off, right? We were just talking earlier about how men, especially, we as homeowners, we're just like, no, don't turn it off. Let's don't look at it. Don't do it. It'll be fine. It's just something small. Don't let that happen to you. You don't want mold. You don't want dry rot. You don't want any of that stuff. You need the experts to come out and take a look. It's not going to cost you anything, and they guarantee they're the best. They have 30,000 customers, 5-star reviews. That's awesome. So why not? If you're worried about your foundation, if you're worried about some of the stuff that may have happened last, few weeks because of the snow, and we may be getting some more, call United Structural Services today. Call 615-488-7855. That's 615-488-7855 or online at ussstn.com.
All right, still dealing with a crash, 24 westbound, right there at I-440. And here in Nashville, Tennessee State University has placed the director of the Aristocrat of Bands on leave after an audit and ongoing internal investigation. We'll get you the details coming up at 1:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Neither of the big fires has grown in acreage in days, and containment numbers are going up. At least through the weekend, firefighters are getting a bit of a break. But by Monday, the Santa Ana winds are expected to return. L.A. Fire Chief Kristen Crowley says the threat of explosive fires is not going away.
The winds aren't necessarily here in the city, but with that, we still have, a large amount of unburned dry fuel with low humidity.
Evacuees may not be allowed to go in to see their homes for at least another week.
$250 billion is what they're putting the estimate at now. So I told you guys yesterday, so my friend who does this for a living has gone and saw some. He's going to see more today. And he's like, whatever they're telling you, it's not even close. They're saying 150 billion, 250 at least, and then some. Here's something, though, that really needs to be talked about. And I don't hear many people in the media talking about it outside of a few papers who want to expose the evil Los Angeles liberal hippies. There was at one time when the Palisades, when they knew stuff was coming and it was already starting to spread a little bit, 40 engines ready to roll. They sent 5. There was 35 not sent to the Pacific Palisades and 1,000 firefighters. Think about that for a second. Why? Again, just like Bell and I were talking about them walking by the reservoir. There's nothing there. You could skate on it.
Yeah, I was watching a YouTube short yesterday of a guy who was outside of the reservoir that's supposed to serve that area of California, and it was just empty, and people were like, oh, whoops.
Yeah, it's just...
Sorry.
Yeah, we're sorry about that. And nobody's, all automatically the $7 billion bond that they wanted to revamp all of that stuff and to modernize it. What are you doing? Well, we can't get through the regulations.
Hey, some breaking news. Apparently, Pelosi is not going to go to the inauguration, so they now feel like they have enough alcohol for the event.
No, she's not going. Well, she's got a broken hip.
She got a broken a lot of things.
She's got a broken hip. Magically, though, she can get around somewhat okay. Good for her.
Even when she's blowing a .10.
And that's right. She was walking while drunk. I don't know if that's true. I don't know either. She can't have.
I like to think it is.
Yeah, I think most people figured she was, but you're in your 80s. Look, I'm 54, and I used to go down the stairs a lot faster, but because I figured, if I fall, I'm going to be fine. Nowadays, I still kind of go down the stairs, but I do slow a little bit because I think, you never know. I'm not going to break my hip, but I tell you what, when I fall at 54, you stay fall for a while.
It hits different.
I remember being a 14-year-old kid jumping off the roof of our house.
What we used to do, too.
And now, there's no way you can get me to do that.
Oh, wow. Yeah, man. I mean, my legs would they would detach from my ankles.
Oh, we would jump off the house and, I would go into, a catcher squat.
Oh, yeah.
If I pretend to be a catcher, I'm not getting up.
No, I was a catcher in high school. I can't do it now. There's no way.
No, it is, it's so insane, though. Like you said, as you get older, that stuff happens. Just like, Pelosi. I mean, the fact that she broke her hip and she's still up and around and, she went in, it's pretty amazing. She was in Switzerland, so, it wasn't like she was in the Congo or somewhere or somewhere. Right. She was in Switzerland. If you're going to break a hip, that might be one of the places to do it. That being said, she is still, she's a bit old, long in the tooth. Let's just say wasn't she born? World War II was still going on. Think about that.
Wow.
World War II was still going on. Several of you have chimed in about TikTok. You're like, I don't get it. You're not supposed to. It's not meant for you. Others are going, hey, where do the older people make money? Seen a couple articles out there. There are tons of people that make money, and most of them, it's by accident. They just started doing something, and people liked it. It's not just go on and look at me, I post of it. You've got to be consistent, and at the same time, you also have to be interesting. I think some people out there forget that. They just think you could post and not be interesting, and people are going to enjoy what you do.
I get some of the best recipes off of TikTok.
So we met with the big boss earlier, and we were talking about TikTok. I will tell you, our Thanksgiving, my wife made the best turkey I've ever had in my life. It was a TikTok recipe.
Yeah.
And now she goes to this guy. She's like, I'm trying something new that this guy, all TikTok recipes. It was incredible.
Yep.
She followed to D. It's not just about kids doing little dances and stuff. There's so many things there, and that's why people enjoy it. And yes, they do, go on and, our attention span is getting shorter. That's on us, though. I mean, that's how kids are watching shows. People are watching movies on TikTok. I find myself doing it, going Every, there's 2 minutes of that movie, 2 minutes of that movie, and I just keep going through it. It's the same movie. It's crazy. That's the world we live in now. I know it makes you feel uncomfortable, but that is the world we live in now. Speaking of uncomfortable, many of you, like me, have been to the doctor and had the doctor say, your BMI is 6,000. You have type 7 diabetes. So we're going to talk about
They've only invented 5 types.
We've got above it now. That's how big it is. Sure, you have gravitational pull. No, we're going to talk about how they're doing the new BMI/new thing and how they're redefining it, which I think is good. But how do they redefine it? Because it was yesterday was a little bit of a mystery. We've solved that. We'll do that straight ahead. It is the Chad Benson Show. Super Talk 99.7.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Getting a lot of breaking news alerts here. Rudy Giuliani settles with former election workers to end their $146 million defamation case against him. Right now in Tennessee, Tennessee State University's director of the Aristocrat of Bands is on paid leave following an internal audit. The university says it's looking into what it says are concerns over travel requisitions and advances and related lack of compliance with TSU policies and procedures. Secretary of State Antony Blinken giving farewell remarks to reporters taking questions at the State Department on the Israel-Gaza agreement.
I'm very confident that this is moving forward, and we'll see the start of implementation of the agreement on Sunday.
Well, Israel's delaying voting on the agreement, accusing Hamas of attempting to renege to extort last-minute concessions. And with the TikTok ban looming, there are new details about what may happen to the app. ABC's Elizabeth Schulze with how President-elect Trump may play a role.
President-elect Trump says, according to sources familiar with the discussions, he's looking at options, including an executive order that could keep TikTok available. Now, how he can overrule the law isn't exactly clear.
Entertainment news, Mike Dabusky.
David Lynch has passed away. Whether it was Twin Peaks or Mulholland Drive or Blue Velvet, there's a good chance you've encountered at least one David Lynch project in your life. Lynch got his start in filmmaking with 1977's Eraserhead, followed up by the award-winning The Elephant Man. In a statement, his family says there's a big hole in the world now that he's no longer with us, but as he would say, keep your eye on the donut and not on the hole.
Yeah, but the first icon to announce the passing today.
Swinging a fly ball to left and deep.
As Bob Uecker calling a Milwaukee Brewers game, the Brewers say the former player, announcer who went on to be a comedian and actor passed away today at the age of 90. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
All right, people. 47 is coming in. Friends over at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Got a little 47 surprise for you right there. In honor of the 47th president, 47% off non-surgical spinal decompression in the big 47 offer of 2025. Call 615-246-5009. Tell them I sent you. I'll tell you, there's no pills. There's none of that stuff. No creams. It's great going to a place with Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley. You talk to them and you're like, oh my God, I feel like you guys are going to really do something for me. And then lo and behold, they do. And this includes things like not just your spine, but your knee. They can do so many things that others just can't because, well, they're so much more advanced than everybody else. Get over and see them now. And remember, right now, in honor of the 47th president, they've got the big 47% off. Check them out right now. Call them, set up an appointment. If you worry about your spine, you worry about not being able to do things you used to, as we're just talking about it, let them show you what they can do. Call 615-246-5009, 615-246-5009.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Are you plump? Are you a nutritional overachiever? A person of size? I love the person of size.
I like big boned.
Big boned, that's right. Big boned. Are you? I've got big bones. If that's what you're asking. Okay, a little big bones. I'm not saying I'm a bigger. I'm husky. Do you remember when you used to have to go get husky clothes?
Yeah, husky.
You go to Sears, like everybody else be getting like the, Oshkosh Bagosh, and you're like, I got to go to Husky. Oh, because some of you are going to chime in. Oh, I remember Husky clothes. Oh, so yesterday we talked about like they're going to redo the BMI and the whole 9 yards. Well, now we're finding out exactly what that means when it comes to that, because the BMI was kind of ridiculous. I think we can all recognize that. So they're like, all right, we got to do something else that's a little bit better than that to get a real understanding. Because some people can be 30 pounds overweight and they need to lose the 30 pounds, but they're in better shape than somebody who's that weight, but they smoke and they drink and stuff like that.
Again, you still use the BMI as your first pass screening tool, but then you want to drill down on, does this person have preclinical obesity or clinical obesity? So what that means is, do you actually have excess fat? So there are 3 different main ways to measure that. Yeah. One is your waist circumference, or a waist to hip ratio. So if your waist is over 35 inches for a woman or 40 inches for a man, that means you do have excess fat. Or are you apple-shaped versus pear-shaped?
Okay, apple-shaped versus pear-shaped. I don't know what that means. What's the apple shape look like? Versus pear. Pear would be bigger. You got a badonkadonk, I think. Bigger legs, little badonkadonk. Apple would probably be you're just round around the middle, but everything else is okay. Okay, that's interesting. So now we're starting to get it. Continue, Doc.
There are other tests you can use to directly measure body fat. Some older women might be familiar with the DEXA test to assess for bone thinning or osteoporosis. Mm-hmm. That can also be used to measure body fat. And then drilling down further, are you having effects on your activities of daily living, as we call them? So can you climb up and down stairs? If you're not able to because of your weight, that would be clinically obese. Mm-hmm. Do you see damage to your organs, your kidneys, your heart, et cetera, because of your obesity? That would be clinical obesity.
Clinical obesity. So now they're going to do different kinds of obesity. So you're going to have the clinical obesity, right? And then you've got the ones where, the shots. You got to take shots. You got to do stuff because that's the new thing we're doing now. It's like, hey, Doc, what do you think I should do? Well, have you thought about working out a little bit? Have you thought about eating a little less? I don't know if I can do that. Well, then I'll just give you a shot.
I was getting ready to say, does that come in a shot, Doc?
It does. If you can get it in a donut, it would be better, but I'll take a shot. You know what, though? The stairs thing. How many people, and several of you are chiming in about the husky genes and whatnot. It's fantastic. How many people, when's the last time you climbed a flight of stairs outside of here?
I do it at home every day.
Yeah, see, but have you done 8 or 10 flights in a row?
Oh, no.
Ooh, because our apartment, we have 6, so we'll go up to the top because my daughter likes to to ride around on her scooter and stuff up there.
Yeah.
So, and it's, I mean, if you haven't done it for a while, it's a wake-up call.
Oh, it'll get you, dude.
You're like, my grandmother, terrified of the elevator. So my uncle used to, when we were younger, he had an agent when he was very young. We'd have to go to L.A. And he'd go, Chad, you got to come with us because, Grandma's going to need somebody to go up the stairs with. Some of his agents were like on the 30th floor. And my grandma was not going to take the elevator because it was evil or something. I didn't know what it was. But we had to. And when you're 14 or 15, it's no big deal.
Yeah, no biggie at all.
But when you're, like even now, I did 12, flights the other day, and, I wasn't dying, but I felt it. Not so much in my lungs, but I'll tell you what, in my quads and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Mother of goodness. So that's how they're doing the new overachievers thing and getting rid of a bit of the BMI, which is, as we all know, is absolutely ridiculous. It's just completely. I was on the BMI thing last night trying to find out. And I think if everybody was honest and they went on there, you're like, there's no way you're going to get to that. There's just no way. For me, I would have to be like, I would literally have to lose 100+ pounds.
Exactly.
Are you nuts? Like that's crazy. So we're going to pass on that. We'll go with the new one. The Village People are performing. You knew they would, which is cool. And we talked about it yesterday. Chris said to me, he goes, man, that was great. You talking about the Village People, how nobody was mad at the Village People. They're mad at Carrie Underwood. They're mad, at these people who just are like, I don't hate Trump. Well, we hate you now. The Village People didn't really get that same kind of pushback that others did. But Victor Willis is going to take them to the inauguration. And he talked about how the whole thing started.
Yeah, we're doing it at a couple of the inaugural balls, as a matter of fact. We're doing it at the Turning Point rally, and we're doing it at the Liberty rally, which are both part of the inauguration. And what they did was they sent an email to Karen and asked her, to my wife, and asked her if it was okay for Village People to do the inauguration. And she came to me and we spoke, and we decided, yes, that basically politically we had the candidate that we had wanted to win and basically lost. But at that point we felt that we should let politics stay out of our music, and that we should try to help unite the country by doing YMCA at the inauguration for Democrats as well as Republicans.
That right there, Victor Willis. He is the founder of the Village People. He said, my guy lost. Right? Not a fan of Trump's politics. They don't dislike Trump. Not a fan of the politics of Trump. But they didn't stop him from using it because they didn't want to. And he said, I'm going to go. They're inviting me. I'm going to go. And even though my guy didn't win, I'm still cool enough to go for everybody.
Yeah, he's going to join us at the rally Sunday, and he's probably going to join us at the other rally at the ball. He's going to join us at the ball too. So yeah, he's supposed to be on stage with us a couple of times. That is going to be cool.
Now, they got to the brass tacks, guys, and that is the dance. Because that's all the kids, the younger generation, they think that what Trump does is the dance. It's not the dance. We all know, our age, the YMCA. And they asked him, hey, is he going to do his dance or your dance?
We're going to do our version. As a matter of fact, I'm going to have, which I always have in the show, the cowboy is going to show the audience how we do YMCA and the Village People. And that's the way that we're going to do it, the way that we always do it. And he's going to have to do it like we do it. Ooh. If he doesn't, he can do his own thing. I mean, at a certain point, I'll just do the little woom with him, when he's if he's on stage with me, we'll have fun with it.
That's all you ask for. Put the politics aside. It has nothing to do with whether or not you support Trump or anybody. It's the honor. Yesterday I said I would meet with Biden if he was down the street, and I said, hey, he would like to meet with you. Going and shaking a president's hand, it's not about the person, right? Like the office itself is important, and having that kind of respect is so important for the office. Plus, it's a cool thing to tell your kids. It has nothing to do with whether or not you support him. I don't support Biden at all. I think he was. I think he was well past his sell-by date. I think the Republicans lost. When I look at the way that the Republicans handled the last 4 years, I think they could have done a better job. What really hurt the Republicans at times with the Republicans, you know what hurt Joe Biden the most and the Democrats? Joe Biden. Everything was self-inflicted. But this guy was well past his sell-by date. And the minute they were done with him, which, by the way, if you're not paying any attention, short of, and the reason Nancy Pelosi, she's not going to the inauguration. The reason she doesn't want to be seen right now in D.C. is because if doctor, not her licensed medical professional, Jill saw her, I think she'd go after her. I think she'd push her down and break her other hip. She has more than a few choice words for her and then some. But Joe was thrown away like everybody else. And it's time for him to go. His numbers are awful. The worst numbers. His departure, this is the lowest he's ever been because he doesn't care and he's doing whatever he wants to do. We're going to talk a little bit next hour about his speech last night and the oligarchs, which always makes me laugh. Because somehow along, it was like, it's all about money and oligarchs and the robber barons of the past. And now the tech oligarchs are there. And, look what Eisenhower talked about the, military industrial complex, yada, yada, yada. And every time I see when they talk about, like even today when they were criticizing several people, some of the people like Burgum, who's going to be on, inside the cabinet, it's always about the money they have. It's never about any of the success they built. It's always about, they got money. No, they're successful for a reason. And when did success become a bad word? Like, we can't have success. You know what I'd like to run my company? An idiot who's broke and has never been successful. That's not going to help you there, kids. Just letting you guys know that. So we'll talk a little bit about that. A bunch of other stuff still to go. He's going to be on stage with them twice, the Village People. He's going to do the dance. I wonder if they can get him to do the YMCA.
He's probably going to have them do the Trump dance.
Yeah, you know him.
I could see Trump doing the YMCA.
I think he will, and then he'll go into his little dealy bobber, right? Like that he does, right? That he, his little whatever, kind of move the hips and move the arms.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I could see it's going to be, because you know what? If it makes him look stupid, he's definitely not doing it. Because Trump is all about the visual.
Yep.
So we'll see. A lot of stuff still to get to on this beautiful Thursday. And next hour, we're going to talk a little bit about vouchers as well. They got the special session, how exactly the vouchers work, and long-term, what does it look like? Because that's the answers that I still have yet to see. So we'll talk a bit about that as well. It is the Chad Benson Show at Super Talk 99.7. Rough Greens, RUFF greens.com. Use code Chad. Rough Greens is an amazing powdered supplement you give your dog or your cat. When you do, watch what happens. It's going to help them in ways that I don't think you realize. It's going to help them with their aches and their pains and their joints, their skin, their fur, their digestive tract, their teeth, their gums. It's going to give them more energy. It is incredible. So it's got vitamins, minerals, probiotics, omega-369. It's got enzymes for the meow greens. It's awesome. And it really it was a lifesaver for my older dog. And for our younger dogs and our cats, it's incredible. And the way that they are living their life, no worry about taking them to the vet or anything. And it's because of Rough Greens. I'm telling you guys right now that I want to give you a Jumpstart trial bag. It's a $20 value. It's absolutely free. You can do it by going to roughgreens.com and use code Chad. When you do, you cover the cost of shipping. They're going to send you out the Jumpstart trial bag for free. Roughgreens.com, use code Chad.
Rudy Giuliani gets to keep some of his expensive items in a $148 million defamation lawsuit settlement with two election workers out of Georgia. We'll tell you about it at 2 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I wonder how much they're getting. Pennies on the dollar, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
I mean, Rudy's got some stuff, but he didn't have $147 million worth of stuff or whatever it is.
I wouldn't think so. Not by now.
No.
Trump will pay the bill for him.
No, Trump won't.
Out of the Treasury.
He won't pay the bill. But that's the whole point, right? Like, Rudy was always complaining. I spent all my money on hair dye.
Man, I'll never forget that.
If you think about after 9/11, he was the world's mayor.
Yeah.
Everybody loved him. The way he got the city through it, he was all of that. And then he became a caricature of himself. He ran for president, and that went nowhere. And then he just became this bizarre caricature of what he once was, and it just got worse and worse. Do you remember, was it the second Borat movie when he got caught, didn't he? With the girl in the room? He was...
It was the sequel to... it was the sequel to the Borat movie. It was the follow-up.
Yeah, very nice. But it's then the hair dye, and like, you should be remembered for all that you did for the city and the world and being a leader, right? Like, when we're looking around right now, especially in what's going on in Southern California, there are no leaders there. He led. And now he's got to give, God knows how much he ended up giving to two women that he completely lied about in Georgia. Everything you worked for. And you get to keep a few of your trinkets. You get to keep a few of your things. And that's it. You don't get anything else. You're not being remembered the way you should be. But you did that yourself because you wanted to hang on rather than just ride off into the sunset. Oh, God, what an embarrassment. Just sad. Sad indeed. And the fact that Trump let him twist in the wind for such a long time. Do you think he's a friend? You go, hey, stop it. Enough. Come on, Rudy. No, he didn't. Because he liked him having him out there, stirring up the pot. But he did that on his own with those two ladies. And it was, I was in Arizona, and when all that craziness was going on, and there's still lawsuits out there. It's like Carrie Lake, who's, by the way, the worst candidate in so many ways, by the way she acted. She's getting sued, and it's going to end up going to court. She's going to have to settle because she lied too. There was no repercussions, and it's expensive to sue. And it's really expensive to lose, as we're finding out as well. Hey, David Lynch, I forgot all about the fact that he directed The Elephant Man.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know what The Elephant Man is, based on a true story about it, was John Merrick, played by, was it Hunt?
John Hurt.
Merrick was the guy's name.
Yeah, but John Hurt.
John Hurt played him. Oh, I'm not an animal. I'm a human. And he had these deformities that they look like elephantitis.
Yeah, he had elephantitis.
But they called him the Elephant Man, but the deformities and stuff, and it was shot in black and white. Right? That's the first time I saw Anthony Hopkins.
That ended with him dying because he sat up to sleep. Right?
Yes.
Or he laid down to sleep.
He laid down to sleep because he couldn't sit up. He had to sit up to sleep because of the way his body was.
Yeah, he wanted to be normal, and he wanted to be able to lie down to sleep because I guess it was the way his head and his chest had deformed that he wasn't able to do that.
Cut off all of his oxygen and whatnot. And so there's
sad, man.
Very sad. The movie's sad. It's a brilliant movie, though.
Oh, yeah.
And it's shot in black and white, which also gives it this kind of eerie feeling. It's an amazing movie if you have a chance to see that. Because you think of it as an avant-garde and all the other stuff that he's done, the Twin Peaks and all that stuff. But that got all the Academy Award nominations. It was incredible, that movie, though. And not avant-garde. When you think about it. It's like one of those departures from the stuff that Lynch did in the past. Coming up next hour, talk a little bit about vouchers. Last night, Biden bid adieu to America. Talk a bit about that as well. More on what's going on in Israel or what's not going on. It is the Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7.
Two o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes. Rudy Giuliani gets to keep his apartments and World Series rings to settle the $148 million defamation lawsuit brought by two Georgia election workers. Giuliani's attorney, Joseph Camarata.
After long negotiations over the last 72 hours, going well into the wee hours of the night, all parties reached a resolution in this case that is satisfactory to all parties.
Yeah, the settlement does not include an admission of guilt, but Giuliani has agreed not to talk in a defamatory way about Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss, whom a jury determined Giuliani lied about in 2023, accusing them of tampering with the 2020 presidential vote in Georgia. Here in Nashville, more fallout from the financial issues at Tennessee State University. The director of TSU's Aristocrat of Bands is on paid leave following an audit and internal investigation regarding what interim President Dwayne Tucker says are travel requisitions and advances and related lack of compliance with TSU policies and procedures. Money issues in October prompted the university to announce the Grammy-winning Aristocrat of Bands would no longer play at away games due to costs that would have exceeded $150,000. And a delay in the ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas after Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu accused Hamas of attempting to renege on parts of the agreement reached with the mediators and Israel in an effort to extort last-minute concessions. He says the Israeli cabinet will not ratify the agreement until Israel's conditions are met. ABC News White House correspondent Karen Travers has the latest from the Biden administration.
The White House says Hamas is in a much weaker position now than last May, when this ceasefire and hostage release plan was first proposed by the U.S. National Security spokesman John Kirby said that's a big factor to getting the deal done, but he also gave credit to the incoming Trump administration.
The comments by President-elect Trump, particularly his support for this deal and making it public that he supported this deal, did send a strong signal to everybody in the region, including Hamas, and it certainly, I think, sent a strong signal to the hostage families and the hostages themselves.
The American Cancer Society just released its annual report. Among its findings, higher rates among women and young adults for certain types of cancer. Here's American Cancer Society Chief Scientific Officer Dr. William Daya.
For the first time, if you're a woman under the age of 65, you're more likely to have a cancer diagnosis than a man. One, we're seeing some increased risk of cancer and breast cancer and thyroid cancer. But what's really sort of striking is for the first time under the age of 65, lung cancer is now more likely to develop lung cancer in women than in men.
Entertainment visionary director David Lynch has died, his family announcing on Facebook. Here's a clip from his groundbreaking TV series Twin Peaks, starring Kyle MacLachlan as FBI agent Dale Cooper.
You know, this is, excuse me, a damn fine cup of coffee. I can't tell you how many cups of coffee in my life, and this is one of the best.
Yeah, Donna made some good pie, too. David Lynch was 78. Meanwhile, Bob Uecker
Swinging a fly ball to left and deep.
calling a Milwaukee Brewers game. The Brewers say the former player announcer, who went on to be a comedian and actor, passed away at the age of 90. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
It doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
I'm dancing in here. I see the bald head in the back there, right over Bell's left shoulder. Just, rocking it with me.
You know what? As great as Angus Young is, his brother was responsible for these riffs.
Yeah.
Malcolm.
Yeah, he was
Malcolm
the
was the
riff master.
gatekeeper.
Yeah.
It's always like that. It's like same thing, John Deacon, right? Like the surprise about John Deacon. It's interesting. I was watching the other day, man. He wanted nothing. The minute Freddie died, he was like, I'm done. I don't want anything, because they were so close kind of thing. It's very odd when you think about, Freddie, the most flamboyant person in rock and roll, and, John Deacon, an engineer, essentially, who knew how to play the bass.
Yeah.
That's what he was. Like, he's a mechanical engineer, I think, right? Or electrical engineer. Is that what he studied?
Brian May was
He's a physicist.
Yeah.
He's a astrophysicist.
They're all a bunch of nerds.
For his day job. Nerds.
They went to school. Did they have choice? Well, let's find out. So yesterday, the announcement of this thing. We're going to have a special session. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, vouchers. We've had people come in. We've talked to people. I'm still curious about it because, as I said yesterday, it's implementation. If you do it right, great. If you do it wrong, lots of confusion.
It's a policy that goes by several different names. You've heard it called school vouchers, school choice, education freedom. It's the idea of letting parents use public tax dollars to pay for private school. Now, once again, it's Governor Bill Lee's top legislative priority. But before all the noise around this bill gets stirred up, we wanted to help families and parents understand what it would look like here in Tennessee. The governor's bill is called the Education Freedom Act. And if passed, here's how it works. Every year, the state gives public school districts money called base funding. Right now, it's a little more than $7,000 per student. Under the governor's bill, parents apply for a scholarship that would take those tax dollars out of their local school district and move it into an account that helps pay for private school. Any unspent money would roll over into the student's account for the next school year.
So what we were told is the money stays there. Right? It's not taking money out of the school district. But it makes it sound like here they're taking money out of the school district. Again, there's lots of stuff to be ironed out. Remember, there's only 20,000 people that can apply and get this. So, 100,000 can apply, but only 20,000 are going to get it. It's capped at a certain level. And I understand the hesitancy of some people out there because, as I've said, coming from a place that has implemented this, when done wrong, it becomes a hot mess. And who takes advantage of it is another question that needs to be asked, because who took advantage of it in places like Arizona and several others? It was only the wealthy. The kids are already in private school. I mean, again, they're paying taxes and they're spending their own money to send their kids to school. But you would think, well, don't the wealthy usually have good public schools? They want them to go to better schools.
Now, in the first year of the program, Tennessee would only offer 20,000 scholarships, with half going to students needing economic help and the other half to any student, regardless of family income. If 75% of the available scholarships are claimed in any given year, the state would add 5,000 scholarships the next school year. Similar legislation failed last session because some Republicans feared that their local school districts would suffer financially if too many students left for private school. So the governor's new bill guarantees that the state will cover any budget holes that the scholarships create. And this time, there's also a standardized test requirement for scholarship students in grades 3 through 11.
There you go. I like that part. I want to know what's going on. Look, here's the thing. The unions and everybody else fights against this. So they go and they fight against this. They don't like competition. Competition is great. I don't think a kid who's in a poor area should be stuck going to a crappy school. That being said, I also don't want to see a bunch of these fly-by-nights, open up in strip malls, right? Like, oh, yeah, our school is right next to the Big O Tire or whatever. You want to see, some real schools. And that's one of the things they were talking about the other day, that there's got to be investment in some areas that maybe don't have a charter school or a private school, or maybe they've got a smaller one. And if you want more students, you're going to have to expand. So they're going to have to put some money in this as well. It should be about the kids. I think we all recognize it. Absolutely has to be about the kids. But when I look at this, I just go back to implementation. Who's going to take advantage of this is the thing that matters. Because if the kids that you're trying to help, and I like the fact that they're kind of means testing it, it's going to be kids who are in not great school districts, don't have a lot of money. That's a wonderful thing because that's really kind of how this is starting out. But it needs to eventually be for everybody. And I think they're taking that position. But then, some of the other stuff is, let's say you do it one year and you do really well and you apply in next year and you don't get it. So you're back to hell. Or do you get do they add on to it once you're in the program? As long as you're doing well, do you stay in the program?
Now, Governor Lee also added 2 items this time around to help get the bill passed. One is a one.
I killed my thing, man. I can't even believe I did. Did you do that? You sure you did that? All right, let's try this again.
That was on your end.
Was it? I do that sometimes. All right, let's go.
Time $2,000 bonus to public school teachers. The other, 80% of tax revenue collected from sports betting in the state would be set aside to pay for construction and maintenance of public school buildings. Now, Democrats oppose the bill, calling it a scam to give rich families tax cash. Now, Governor Bill Lee wants to get this bill passed quickly. He hasn't ruled out the idea of calling for a special session, and I'm told that could happen.
Well, that's happening. Now, so you go and you do the special session, you get this thing passed, and the rushing to do so, okay, and like I said, I love the choice. Like, I want choice when it comes to schools. I like competition. But the implementation is the thing that matters. Because rushing to do so sounds great, right? We defeated the teachers, whatever you want to say, but you've got to show results. And see, that's the thing that we have stopped demanding in many cases from our politicians. You want this? Great. Let's see results. What does it look like? What happens if a year or two from now, you've gone through this, you exhausted the funds? It's because, as we know, once you put something out there, rarely does it sunset and disappear. Rarely does it. What's the real data look like? What's the real numbers look like? What are the charter schools doing here? What do they need? All of those things need to be taken into account. And as a parent of 16-year-old, 2 14-year-olds, and a 6-year-old, school is really important to me. I want to know exactly, what they're teaching, right? Like, that's an important thing. But on top of that, if we have a chance to move, are they going to, into a different school? If we were to do this, we're not doing it this year because my kids are already in there. We didn't move them to a school this year because we moved here late. And so we thought we'll just start them fresh next year. And they're already homeschooled somewhat anyways. But what does that look like, for them as far as how many schools do they have a choice to choose from? How far away is it? How many kids are they going up against when they're, trying to get these scholarships / money? So those things all are going to be in play here. And I am like I said, a big proponent of school choice. But I'm a bigger proponent of actually holding everybody accountable if this thing doesn't work right. And my fear is it gets put out there and all of a sudden lots of money starts going to places and you've got schools failing because we've seen a ton of that. And we've seen some stuff that's really successful. What does that look like? What's going to be the test for the schools themselves? Because if you get a school, a fly-by-night school, which that's what's happened in a lot of these places, and it just happens to be that these schools pop up and it's $7,000 a year, you get this, right? Who's teaching is a big deal. But what is going to be, what are you doing to hold them accountable? Not just that they get to keep in business, but what are you doing to hold them accountable? And yes, you're going to be doing testing, but let's say this school over here shows nothing. They're just taking the money and running, essentially. Are you going to say, well, you know what? You guys you're SOL when it comes to, you're not getting any more money. Or move the kids somewhere else. It'll be interesting to see what happens, for sure. Nothing so far when it comes to Israel. So they were close to they got a deal, then they didn't get a deal. Because today they were supposed to vote on it in the in their version of essentially Congress. And they said, yeah, they've reneged already. They're changing the rules. But I don't know what rules they've changed. Anthony Blinken on his way out says,
we expect implementation of the agreement to begin on Sunday. As President Biden said yesterday, after more than 400 days of struggle, a day of success has arrived.
Except for it's not quite done yet. But even if it gets done, and we're going to talk about this, you got to come at it in a much different way. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and not getting a different result. And that is what has been happening for quite a while in the Middle East, not just this time. And Trump and everybody yesterday was, watching all the talking heads, right? There's that battling over who gets credit for it. Does it matter? Yeah. For a lot of people, it does. I want my team to win. And, Reagan's great saying is, imagine what we could get done if we didn't care who got the credit, that's not today's world. But that being said, Trump was the get it over the line. Like I said this, Trump was Pat Riley and Phil Jackson. Right? There were people that coached Michael Jordan in the NBA before Phil Jackson. Same thing with the Lakers before Pat Riley. But guess what happens? They bring those guys in and they got over the line. That was Trump. Because Trump did something that Biden wouldn't do. He told Netanyahu, this is over. You better finish it. And you're not getting it done. We're not going to finish it for you. And we're not going to give you any more weapons. We're done. And Biden wouldn't do that. Biden was not having it. You know what? The outline of this is all you and your people. But the finishing touches and the thing that got it over the line was Trump's people. Because he was willing to say no more. It's funny because the guy from Bloomberg said, if he stops these two wars and they don't give him a Nobel Peace Prize, that is a travesty. Remember when Obama won the Nobel Peace Prize and he had no idea why he won it?
and then he went on to drop more bombs than George W. did.
Good. Man, that guy never, ever, ever saw a drone that he didn't want to fire into some house where somebody was probably just relaxing.
Or some citizen who happened to be overseas.
Totally. Man, it was that guy. He droned so many places. It was crazy. Coming up, we'll talk a little bit more about this and then Biden's farewell speech last night. The thing that caught my eye and ear, if you will. Talk about that as well. It is the Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7. Prize Picks football season still going. Opportunities abound. Why? Because of Prize Picks. Now imagine this. You can win up to 1,000 times your money. It is simple and easy to do. You set your lineup, and I'll tell you what the lineup is and how it works in a minute. It is so much fun. My wife loves doing it, and you can do it every day. All kinds of things. And they've got great deals where you can, it's like playing a little bit of a game besides the fantasy side of it. So right now, they're going to give you 50 extra bonus bucks. That's real money right in your account when you play your first $5 lineup. So how does this work? So this weekend, right, you got the Eagles, you got the Rams, you got the Eagles, the Rams. So what would I do? I'd look over here and say, you know what? I think Stafford is going to take advantage of some stuff, and I think he's going to throw for over 250 yards. And I look over there and I say, I think Saquon is going to run all over them for over 100 yards. It's over-under. It's that simple. It's so easy to do, and you can win up to 1,000 times your money. How do you do it? Go to Prize Picks, right? You go and you download the app, the App Store, simple and easy. Use my code Chad, and when you do play your first $5 lineup, you get an extra $50 right away, immediately. Do it now. Go download the app. Use my code Chad at Prize Picks. It's simple. It's easy. Prize Picks. Run your game.
Rudy Giuliani settlement, more fallout from the financial woes at Tennessee State University, and what has been announced about the school's director of the Aristocrat of Bands coming up at 2:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I was just in a meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu 2 days ago, and he said that there is no guarantee that we'll continue from phase 1 to phase 2. And that means maybe we're going to stop after 33 hostages.
And why would they do anything different? Remember that this whole phase 1, phase 2 in the Israel conflict here with Hamas. The phase 3 is Hamas doesn't exist anymore. Hamas is a business. Their business is terror, but they're a business. Name one other business that would say, I want to be out of business. I'm sure there's some altruistic, I'd like to help the homeless, but you know what? Come on. They're in business for themselves. Think of them as a mafia, as a gang. They're a cartel. It's not about ideology. It's not about who's got some sort of, map from 2,000 years ago that said this used to be our land or whatever. It's a business for them. And the more that they can keep their people oppressed, the more that they can continue to blame Israel and the Jews, the more that they can go to their daddy, up until a few months ago, which was Iran and several others, and get funding. It's not like they built sophisticated, all that money the UN gave them, all that stuff. Where do you think that went? They get hundreds of millions of dollars from us, the UN, everybody. There's no schools. They're not building tens and hundreds of schools. There's none of that. Where is it? It's in their bank accounts because they're a business. So what do? You cut their money off. That's how you destroy the business. You take away the people that are essentially, supposedly their customers, and you give them something else. We talked about it yesterday. You start giving people hope. You start giving people a reason to believe that their life is going to be better. You start giving them the light at the end of the tunnel. Man, that changes everything. But this it's this ideology. None of these, all of these loons, these evil terrorists, they prey upon people who have nothing. And they do everything to make sure they have nothing. They prey upon them. Hamas is no different. The difference between Hamas and, say, ISIS and Al-Qaeda is, you've got some crazy religious folks inside of there who are willing to do a lot of crazy things, but they're still a cartel. The difference is Hamas, because of the Palestinian people, have a built-in sympathy card. And they use that. One dead IDF soldier isn't worth the same as several kids in a hospital that were blown up. That sounds horrible, but that's true. They live in Qatar, in beautiful homes, and stay in amazing 5-star hotels. They've got access to everything. Their kids go to the best schools. This is not the way that we've looked at it from the past is we're always trying to solve what everybody thinks is some sort of religious map fight. Think about where they are. They're on the Mediterranean. They're on the seaside of it. It should be a great place. Have you ever seen pictures of it when it's not blown to hell? But their people keep them captive. They have every opportunity.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis from
Arafat
Nashville's
got everything
Morning
he
News.
wanted
The
in
Wall Street Journal
94.
reported a while
Every
ago.
single thing he wanted from Clinton. He got them to give back settlements. He got them to do all kinds of things that you're just thinking, no, and for a two-state solution. And what did Arafat do? No, because it's a business. You cease to be in business when you give it up. All those things. Because then the people that you want to depend on you, who continue to look for you to guidance so you can look to everybody else and say, we need to feed our people. We need to take care of our people. We need money. Well, then they don't need you anymore. And if they don't need you, you don't exist. And you don't exist, you don't get the money. So how do you do it? You put them out of business. And blowing them up is only going to create more down the road. Is it perfect? No, but you better figure something else out. Because if you're not going to blow everybody up, you're going to be right back here. And what they said, just because we get through phase 1 doesn't mean we're getting to phase 2. Ain't no doubt about that. Coming up, Biden said goodbye last night at the Resolute desk. We'll talk a bit about that. Plus, Matt's coming up here in a little while as well. It is the Chad Benson Show at Super Talk 99.7.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast in 5 minutes. Rudy Giuliani has settled the lawsuit by the 2 Georgia election workers a jury says he lied about. Here's attorney Joseph Camarata.
After long negotiations over the last 72 hours, going well into the wee hours of the night, all parties reached a resolution in this case that is satisfactory to all parties.
Giuliani in a statement says he gets to keep his apartments and World Series rings and agrees to not talk about Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss, whom a jury said he lied about in 2023, accusing them of tampering with the 2020 presidential vote in Georgia, handing the 2 women a $148 million settlement. Here in Nashville, ongoing money issues at Tennessee State University. Interim President Dwayne Tucker says Director of the Aristocrat of Bands, Dr. Reginald McDonald, is on paid leave due to concerns over travel requisitions and advances and compliance with TSU policies and procedures. In October, the school announced the Grammy-winning band would no longer perform at away games due to costs exceeding $150,000. Gaza ceasefire not done yet. Israel delaying voting on the deal, claiming Hamas is reneging to try to extort more concessions from Israel. Secretary of State Antony Blinken giving farewell remarks to reporters and taking questions at the State Department today on the Israel-Gaza agreement.
It's not exactly surprising that in a process, in a negotiation that has been this challenging and this fraught, you may get a loose end. We're tying up that loose end as we speak.
Says he still expects implementation of the agreement to start Sunday. Entertainment news, visionary director David Lynch has died, his family announced on Facebook. Here's a clip of his 1986 Oscar-nominated film Blue Velvet, starring Kyle MacLachlan and Isabella Rossellini.
Who sent you here?
Nobody.
I've seen you before.
I sprayed your apartment. I took your key. I didn't mean to do anything except see you.
David Lynch was 78. He had announced last year he had emphysema due to years of smoking and would no longer be able to leave his home. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Did you guys buy that? That was me. Dude, special effects. That's how cheap we are here. You know what's cheap? Rough Greens. No, the product's amazing, but they're going to give it to you for free. If you love your animals like I love my animals, you're going to want to try this. So once you go to roughgreens.com, take a look at all the things they do and what's power-packed into this supplement. It's a powder supplement. Scoop and go. That's simple in your dog or cat's food because they got meow greens. You will love it. It's going to help them in so many ways. So I told you about my cat, right? He's big. He had horrible allergies. We couldn't figure out what it was. We started getting him Rough Greens, but the Meow Greens version, my goodness me. Hair grew back. Cone of shame off. Incredible. For our older dog, Doodle, passed away. He had 5 extra years or so out of life because of Rough Greens. It's got vitamins, minerals, probiotics, omega-3, 6, 9, all of that stuff power-packed into this. Try a Jumpstart trial bag for free. It's not going to cost you anything but shipping. It's a $20 value. Go to roughgreens.com, use code Chad. That's roughgreens.com. Use code Chad. Cover the cost of shipping. $20 value Jumpstart trial bag for free. Roughgreens.com. Code Chad. I can't believe Rudy got to keep his place.
I want to know why he has World Series rings. He never played in the World Series.
No, but because he helped lead New York through those trying times, they gave him a World Series ring.
Yeah, good for you, Rudy.
I know.
So you're here.
I mean, that's a memory to him. I mean, do you think those two ladies are like, oh, good, I got Rudy's ring. Now that apartment. He must have had tons of retirement that they probably snagged. Because they didn't, they got to get something. It can't just be like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and it's not going to be a $30,000 check against a $148 million judgment.
No, it's not. Several of you chimed in about, we're talking about Hamas and how I keep saying the way that things have gone. You know, I look at stuff in a much different way. Always have. I want to look at everything. I want to find out, why do you feel that way? And look, here's something. I want some of you guys to think about this for a second. If you were born into the hell that is that, and you had no means of escape, any real means of escape, and you had limited access to education, clean water in certain areas. Not in all areas, because again, it's governed in certain different ways, but you're stuck in that position. You see why it's easy for people to choose that horrific path. But much like gangsters, right? You don't start out at the top. Some of those guys work their way up. You're looking for people that are essentially easy to pick because they don't have anything. They've lost a lot. And boom. Next thing you know, they're willing to do just about anything because you're offering them something. So, and you know, when I say Islam, people are like, well, Islam, let me tell you something. Islam, you could be a Christian, a Jew, you know, I've got my shirt on right now. I've got my Star of David shirt on, my Israel flag. You could be I'm a Christian. People could twist anything they want to twist. And some people have in the hat. Let's be real. There have been some Christians out there. They didn't behave very well. But they take this book. It's just a sales book. They don't treat it as a book of religion. They treat it as a sales book. And that's what they're doing, to build the gang up so they can have power and money. And if you figure out how to choke the money off, and the reason they're so willing to talk right now is because Iran is in such a financial, they don't really have much of a choice because they're not getting what they once were. Last night, Joe Biden was at the Resolute desk, the Oval Office, saying goodbye to America.
An oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth, power, and influence that literally threatens our entire democracy, our basic rights and freedoms, and a fair shot for everyone to get ahead. We see the consequences all across America, and we've seen it before. More than a century ago, but the American people stood up to the robber barons back then and busted the trusts. They didn't punish the wealthy, just made the wealthy play by the rules everybody else had to. Workers want rights to earn their fair share. You know, they were dealt into the deal, and it helped put us on a path to building the largest middle class and the most prosperous century any nation in the world has ever seen. And we've got to do that again.
Got to do that again. I'm going to whisper.
You know the beautiful thing about him?
Tell me.
It shows that even an idiot can attain high office.
Of course. Well, look, politics is full of people that, if you've ever met many politicians, and Bell, I'm not saying to name names, but you've met some and you think, my God.
Mm-hmm. Without a doubt.
Yeah, completely. I mean,
it's more rare to go, that guy's actually kind of a cool guy. Like Freddie O'Connell. I do not agree with Freddie on almost anything political.
Yeah.
But Freddie is a nice guy.
Absolutely.
We have one of the nicest mayors in this country. I just don't agree with him politically.
And that's you know, the beauty of if we can put our stuff aside for a moment is you'd be surprised how many people you get along with that may be on the other side, that you don't have to always talk politics. But the thought of everybody who gets there is brilliant is wrong. It's just wrong. Many of these people you meet, you think, oh, my God, I got to go wash my hands, check my wallet. George Santos, that's all you got to say right there. AOC is a product of a group of people, and I know I'm talking bad right here. I'm not really meaning to about the love of Belle, but she is literally a almost like a manufactured boy band, but a politician.
That's a really good way to put it, too.
Yeah.
Because if you think about her history in that seat, she started out as a bartender in a club. Mm-hmm. She was found by an activist group who were like, we're going to run you for Congress. And she happened to win, but she didn't have any. It wasn't until this group came in and said, will you be our activist?
And that's it. Because they looked and they identified somebody and they said, she's got a look. She looks great. Yeah. She's bubbly. We can get her to we can craft her like a boy band, or any of those, what is the K-pop stuff.
Yeah.
And away you go. And I've twice had them the Republicans in other states approach me like, you should, and I don't want it. I don't want any part of that, right? But it's funny when you learn how politics really works, and they'll come in and they'll say, well, I don't know how to do this. Don't worry, we'll tell you how to do it. I don't know what to do here. Don't worry. We'll get you the money. Don't worry about that. We'll get you to do these things. You've got people for that. Well, what about getting out there? Don't worry. We've got the apparatus for that. It is just like that.
And at one point, she was like, do I get to say stupid stuff on TV? They're like, absolutely you do.
Will I get a big following on TikTok, which may be gone, maybe by this weekend? Absolutely. So the oligarch thing was funny. And there was also talk, of course, about the press, the free press, not so free anymore. And people reacted to that. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends of all ages, Rachel Maddow.
I had wondered heading into this speech whether he was going to try to give some sort of warning to the country. I did not expect it to be this stark. He said, tonight there is an oligarchy taking shape in America. Dangerous concentration of power in the hands of a very few ultra-wealthy people. A tech industrial complex that poses real dangers. Talked about a tide of misinformation and disinformation enabling the abuse of power. He talked about the free press crumbling, which put a shiver down my spine, and then talked about how truth is being sacrificed for lies for the purposes of power and profit.
Okay. First of all, let's get on the truth thing. We've allowed too many people to have their own truths. And in today's world, you exist, Rachel, because you give a side of a story that doesn't tell the whole truth, may have some truth in it, but not the entire story to a certain group of people. Fox and everybody else, they have their people that they tell their story to that gives their side of a story. Sometimes you got to put the two together to come up with it. And when something is 100% truthful on either side, the other side just doesn't even talk about it. Which is more dangerous, by the way, in today. If you think what's not being reported is, to me, at times, the real disservice. But we have, when they hear this, oh, free press is going away, this, that, and the other, that's never going to happen. You don't like competition. Competition came in a way that you guys never thought it was. It came when the everyday person could be the reporter. When the everyday person could go out and show stuff. When the everyday person got to have somewhat of a say in certain things. Now, when it comes to our viewing habits, you know what? People, many of you, probably, you want affirmation. You don't want information. You don't want to be challenged, and that's a sad thing. So that's on us. But the thought that this free press is going away, that's not happening. It isn't. And it's not just her. Jim Acosta, who, by the way, you'll notice, is appearing again. Because when Trump was gone, Jim Acosta didn't even exist. Now that Trump's back, they dug him out, they dusted him off, and away he goes.
I want to take a moment to talk about something President Biden said during his farewell address. He warned the free press is crumbling in this country. I would add that's only if we, the people, let that happen. Journalists exist to seek the truth, to tell people's stories, to lift up voices that may not be heard otherwise, to shine a light on injustice, and to hold the powerful accountable. We are not the enemy of the people. We are the defenders of the people. Walter Cronkite once said, freedom of the press is not just important to democracy, it is democracy. I want to take a moment to show you something. A woman sent me this sign 8 years ago. She carried it here at a march in Washington. She wrote on the back of the sign, to me and the press here in D.C., you have our support. To Nora, wherever you are, right back at you. Reporting from Washington, I'm Jim Acosta.
Okay, Jim. Well, where were you guys when there was a frail, elderly gentleman who wasn't all there and was getting progressively worse? Why weren't you concerned then? Where were you then when you jumped on the Hunter Biden laptop, which I don't want to relitigate? Where were you then when all of these things were happening that turned out to be real and true? You weren't curious because it went against your ideology. It went against your belief. And, oh, my goodness, it could have affirmed Trump and the Republicans that maybe they were telling the truth. Walter Cronkite was a super lefty. Walter Cronkite would have wanted to know the story about Joe Biden. In today's world, the independent person is going to be the one that breaks the big story out there, not the actual media the way we see it today. Yes, sir.
Walter also had the decency to keep his political views to himself.
Yeah.
And what he did was he came on and said, I have a story for you. This is the detail of it. And he wasn't making judgments, or all he was doing was saying, this is information you might want, and I'm going to present it to you.
That's it. And that's what, but on the other side of that, our issue in today's world is we need to be entertained. And
that is so factual that it doesn't even have a humorous aspect to it, because people don't look at the news as I need information. It's like I need entertainment.
Yeah, that's it.
They're two different things.
Totally. Information, affirmation, and do you want to be entertained? So that's why you see these hearings as insane as they are, because it's about entertaining anymore. It's not about finding out if this person's capable of doing a job. None of that stuff matters anymore. Entertainment. And that's unfortunate, too, because that's the way a lot of these people get paid now who were journalists. But some of them live in a world of activism and ideology that even, goes above trying to find out the truth of something because they think it's going to hurt their side. There was no Woodward and Bernstein in today's world that wanted to do some real research outside of Ducey at the White House to find out if this guy maybe didn't know where he was half the time? Nobody was curious enough? Not if it goes against my beliefs. And that's sad. Coming up, we'll wrap it up. We got Matt. I just saw him wandering here. Maybe he's got a show for you. I don't know. He'll be straight ahead. It is the Chad Benson Show. Super Talk 99.7. Stop cussing, Matt. All right. Microphone on. Oh, God. Hit the dump button. We're back. Smiling. Matt's here. What do you got on the show today, Matt?
I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine,
Fantastic.
Chad.
It's okay. You don't need anything.
And that's the end of this discussion. No,
40 minutes nonstop
actually,
rock.
there's a little bit. I'm going to continue a little bit of the theme that I heard you talking about regarding Israel and Hamas. If you are starting from a place where you think Hamas is an honest actor in any of this, you're not starting from the right place.
No, God, no.
And understand that as soon as Hamas feels like they can, they will break whatever agreement they have made.
Of course, because the agreement, the third phase is they're phased out. Who's going to give up their business?
No, they're not. And for those that believe that the Palestinians, I understand that there are some innocents involved in this situation. But the Palestinians voted for Hamas to be their political leadership.
Well,
in 2006.
And then they've never had a vote since.
The Palestinians did. I mean, in polling that I saw a couple of years ago, like 75% of the Palestinians agreed with Hamas that Israel needed to be destroyed.
But you know what? It's because that's all they know.
Well,
and that's an issue,
well,
right?
They need to take some responsibility.
Well,
for
yeah,
that.
because they absolutely do. But you've been beaten down so much, you got nothing left, and the people next door are bombing you, and you feel like you're helpless.
At what point? So the question is: this is the example that I thought of driving in. At what point did Patty Hearst stop being a hostage and start being an active participant in the bank robberies?
That's a great question.
So I don't know where the Palestinians are on that spectrum.
Yeah. I think if you offered them somewhat of an alternative, I think they would take it. Some of them are very deeply religious, and they don't want to blow people up, but they're not going to live by the Western kind of cultures. But a vast majority of these people, if given the opportunity, I think they could somewhat govern themselves. But that's never going to happen with Hamas. No matter whatever happens,
Correct.
Even if today everybody in Palestine came out and said, we want Hamas gone, Hamas is never going to let that happen.
Well, and you're right on target. 1994, I mean, Yasser Arafat, just go over your history. Each time, whether it's the PLO or now Hamas or the Palestinian organization that runs the West Bank, whatever it is, every time you give them everything they say they want other things.
Yeah. They're always going to be one step ahead in something they ask because it means the end of who they are. It's like if the Democrats did everything they were supposed to do, there wouldn't be a need for any kind of Democrat in any of the inner cities or anywhere else. They don't, because they don't want those people to not be dependent upon.
Weren't we all proud of Joe last night, though?
He stayed up that late.
I mean, oh man, and he sat there and he read and he didn't fumble.
Didn't
he
even
did
poop
fumble.
himself.
He didn't poop himself at all.
He did not.
Not that we know of.
So it was just.
I mean, tell you what, and he went after oligarchs.
The oligarchs.
It's about time you said something about George Soros. Oh, wait.
You know what's interesting about I'm telling you, Nancy Pelosi, if Jill Biden saw Nancy Pelosi, she would go after her. I think you'd have to, it would be a cat fight.
I think Nancy's skipping the inauguration.
She is, because Jill's like, I'm going to break your other hip. And I'm not a licensed medical professional.
I think Netflix ought to air that.
I think that would be good for me, Ken.
Because I have news for you. Nancy, she seems a little frail. I mean, she's wiry, but she's injured. And Jill, she seems like she could throw down a little bit.
Man, gust of wind, Nancy dumps over. Gust of wind.
I think she hits the ground and she just goes like a vampire, just turns to dust.
Like Voldemort at the end of Harry Potter, just poof, just way into nothingness. There's no hydration in that body.
Are you excited for the big inauguration?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited that Donald Trump's going to be president of the United States again. I mean, the pomp and circumstance is the pomp and circumstance. I don't it gets a little laborious for me. With the, we're going to do the music, and now we're going to do a poem that was specially written for this occasion, and now we're going to do this, and we're going to do that, and now we're going to do this thing.
You know who should do the poems? Andrew Dice Clay. Hickory dickory dock.
Trying to. Come on, Murphy. Come up with a word that rhymes with dock that's not the one you're thinking of.
Clock.
Thank you. Clock.
There you go.
Sock.
You guys don't know anything about the magic of Andrew Dice Clay and his poems. All right, on.
But we will start with, Big Mike's not happy. And we'll start with Big Mike not being happy. She's not going to be at the inauguration either. Big Mike being Michelle Obama. We'll do that. We'll talk about some people not happy at the General Assembly either. FAFO. is the theme of the first hour of the show.
Well, there you go. And straight ahead, Chad Benson Show. You guys have a good one.